Woo!
Welcome
I
to
see
the
my
most exciting podcast on the internet.
hey. I've been talking about our parallel.
Yeah,
It's kind of like a Whanake experiment on the side. Like
yeah.
I like the learnings that we have come out of Whanake almost immediately apply to this cohort of like 100. No, not
Damn,
100. Sorry, like 40 or 50,
it's
because we're
huge
just
though.
keeping it manageable. And so like after like setting up our potential systems for Whanake, that's always in the back of my mind. And so I tried to onboard some of our collective into the blockchain, and it was just incredibly difficult. Like we
Yeah,
even for us, it's like an abstract concept,
yeah.
and like there's so much potential in this Web3 technology and decentralized technology and how it aligns with Game B, because blockchain isn't really a part of our values and principles as Whanake,
Yeah.
but it is one of the mechanisms by which you can deliver it so well.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a tool that can be applied towards
yeah,
our
so,
value set.
yeah, it is, and so that's why I think the two kind of kaupapa of Whanake and this collective of rangatahi align so well, because our values and principles are similar, and so we are like a localized node of animism. So
True.
it's kind of cool. But yeah, just uploading people into the blockchain has been tricky, and it's even like, when you go into blockchain, you get a seed phrase of 12 words, and then if you forget your words, then you have no access ever
Yeah, bro.
to your wallet.
I've got it written down like right next to my computer, but it's not foolproof, right?
Yeah, I know. So
Someone cleans up, and I'm like, no, my
like
10 billion in Bitcoin.
mine's written, and like, for blockchain, you could potentially hold land titles, you could hold governance positions, and
You
they
could
all
hold
could be
billions of
tied to your,
dollars of crypto.
yeah, billions of dollars,
Trillions, right.
and and it's all, even you could even hold, if you had a shared wallet and you need like 4 people to sign off, and there's 4 of you, like,
Yep.
or if you need 3 people to sign off and one of you loses your wallet and 2 of them, then you never can get those things. So it's
Oh my god. Well, that was what some of the first DAOs that were set up. They didn't have a mechanism to add any changes to their smart contract and stuff, and they were like,
yeah,
"All right, that's a learning. Like, obviously, you want a level of preserving that value set, so it can't just easily be changed, but you need a mechanism."
yeah. And I've been thinking about us as a DAO, and about the nature of a DAO is like a smart contract dependent operation. And I was thinking, maybe we're not a DAO, maybe we're like a pseudo DAO, where we are like more of a Web3. We utilize the Web3 technologies, but not necessarily have everything governed by smart contracts because of its rigidity and of its, I suppose, just because it's so new, and we just maybe
Yeah.
don't have that expertise to navigate that. But there are tools that help us as a Web3 collective operate as a DAO does. So yeah, I
Yeah.
was just like, there's probably a spectrum.
Well, that's what. Oh man.
I watched that video.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Um,
From Jeremy Muir.
yeah, from Jeremy Muir, and in anticipation of our hui.
Yeah. Hopefully, that's a good catch up. Oh wait, I was gonna
Yeah.
say something quick on. Oh, the Quasi Down. I can't remember their name, but that other outfit that's doing like collective decision making on funding. That's trying to.
The well-being
What?
protocol. That's
Yep.
Mark Pascal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's basically what they're doing, right? Like they're not on the chain, but they're
Yeah.
using all the principles and practices that are like Web3 like. And I think that's a really good discussion to have. Like,
Yeah, because
you know,
in anticipation of our meeting, we're going to have a conversation about establishing DAOs and legal frameworks within New Zealand. And when I was watching it, DAOs are all, it's smart contracts based on governance tokens, and then decisions are made pretty autonomously through code.
Yeah.
based on consensus. And yeah, even the tokens themselves can be like bought or given,
Depending on your
or you
rule
can have
set.
multiple, or if but so you can have whales and heaps of people, and then so they got other polynomial voting.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you
Which is what well-being.
Which is what the well-being protocol does. But I was reflecting on finding the Otter Space NFT soulbound NFTs.
Yeah.
And so that's like a governance token, but it's not one you buy. You just have like one that says yes.
Yeah.
I have one person, one vote type of thing. So we there's like subtle differences in kind of the approach. So I think we'll have a really good discussion tomorrow.
Same, bro. Because a lot of DAOs are set up as investment vehicles nowadays. And I think that's where a lot of the energy is gone, because they are moving like big sums of money, but they are very much set up around how much you invest in is your stake.
Venture capital was like the
Yeah.
first DAO way.
Yeah, it's like Web3 venture capital, which is a cool way, I guess, to do venture capitalism or to do investing where you don't just empower BlackRock or State Street any further, right? Like that's better than that, but it's still very much like playing game A, just in a
so game
better
A.
way, right?
And so I think in the list of what DAOs are, they're like fundraising, their governance mechanisms, the structures that they put forward in the video, Jeremy Muir, and we'll put the link in the description.
Yeah, good call. Yeah.
It was like you can either set up an incorporated society if you're not for profit, or you can set up kind of a layered DAO trust limited liability company. And then I was wondering, like how do we capture a cooperative structure where you have got shareholdership and like owner operated mechanism, because the incorporated society can hire contractors and employees.
Yeah.
They can be anyone else.
Yeah.
Just the same as a corporate for profit, but then I don't know if that's our. Are we a cooperative? How do we make a DAO that's cooperative, where the shareholders and owners are the operators?
Exactly. No, I'm really excited to talk to Jeremy and get some, and his the woman that's been involved in it. She said she was going to come. That was in the YouTube video.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm forgetting her name, but we will put the video in the podcast description. So you guys, so anyone in the future that might listen that wants to go and talk to see what we're talking about. But what I was going to say is, I'm excited to get their advice on it, because I think we know what we want, and hopefully they can articulate the best legal format for that. And you're totally right. I think one of the appeals to a DAO for us is we don't want separation of governance, decision making, and people doing the work, which is like a worker-owned cooperative type of, in that sense. The other appealing things about DAOs are, like, I think, efficiency, ease of use, like non-locality. There's a lot of cool things of being able to do it just in a distributed way, transparency, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why I'm excited for Jeremy and the team there to go, we want this. Like, what legal structures can we make to do this? And I think, reflecting on what you said around, do we want to be a quasi-DAO or a full DAO? I think what's cool about trying to do it fully officially, like within the current structure, is it adds some challenges, but one, we're not risking like vast sums of capital and wealth. And I feel like in some sense we have a ability to take a risk and try it. And you and I aren't going to lose the knowledge and the intellectual capital, right? If we had to like dissolve something because we tried it and we're like, nah, we are a quasi-DAO or whatever, I think we could carry on. But it's, I don't know, just my first thoughts are it's worth taking a risk on trying to do it and establish a really clear blueprint. Because I think if you do it like well-being protocol, it is easier to get going. and they have a lot they want to do. It's not. I think that's what's appropriate for them. But for us, I think maybe it's appropriate for us to take a risk to try and make an official blueprint, because that, I think, will be more easily shareable. And that has been one of our operations, and one of the reasons we had some seed funding is for us to do this, to find a really clear a path a little bit as like a
Yep.
explorer, right? And say, here, now it's a little bit easier for you guys to follow, and this is an official legal way that you can set it up and we can share that blueprint. But that's just my initial thoughts.
Yeah. I think what the two kind of examples that we're given kind of fit out what we need, but I don't think that we're going cooperative type, that game B type of structure, because we're not only pushing the structure, the legal structures now, but we're trying to run a operation that reflects the game B principles of a Whanake future now. So we're pushing that, and then there was this even off ramping from, like, if we on ramped into the blockchain, into the DAO, people could pay us in blockchain, and always taking money out of that, whether that's individually, if you're contracted by if you're paid by the organization, how are you paid, and then if you get paid so much, how do you buy pens? Like, that's always my question to myself. Like, how do I even buy? If I was having a meeting and whatever, and I just needed something that was only $2, what would be the fee to buy something that small? And the only place that's kind of done it in a reasonable way that I've seen is the raincards.xyz. They provide a link between a Visa debit card, a virtual debit card, and your shared wallet, which on the blockchain, and you don't need to have an intermediary bank account.
It'll just automatically sell a certain amount of
So it uses whatever's in your safe as like collateral, and then at the end of the month it just draws down on whatever you spent. So you don't have to. It's not transaction by transaction. They just say,
Smart.
I see you got 100 grand in there, so we'll give you. You can spend up to 50 grand because of the variability and costs and all that. And at the end of the month, you just pay us.
That's clever. So then your gas fees are really reasonable.
Yeah. So you just pay one interaction, whereas other cards you got to pay you got to transfer from.
Yeah.
Like whatever, all the fees along the way.
Because they would have to go from your wallet to an exchange, sell it, get USD or NZD, then transact in that. Yeah, there'd be a lot of steps. Whereas if you just do it in one go.
So, like, the only thing with that is they're only operating for US companies at the moment, and that's
a problem.
Mechanism I've seen.
Yeah.
That allows you to take money out of the blockchain without having, like, if you take it out of Easy Crypto or like Dasset, which is another New Zealand exchange.
Oh yeah.
And they they can confirm your bank account, or Independent Reserve. It's like $20 every time you want to take money out.
Really? There's so many mechanisms. Yeah.
If you wanted to buy, if we got paid 100 grand, whatever, to Whanake, and we wanted to buy Whanake pens or Whanake subscription to Squadcast, a virtual debit card would allow you to do that straight from that. But if otherwise, you'd have to take it from the Whanake wallet in the blockchain, pass it to the Whanake like third party, and then extract it third party, which was like Easy Crypto or something, into your bank account, and then if you have it in your bank account and it's more than 2 to sign, which is like you want to try and have some decentralized operation, then you can't have a debit card. So it's like,
right.
If you're not cooperative society, you can't have a debit card. So
yeah, a lot of I don't think it might have been an article Jeremy wrote was saying like one of the biggest challenges that people encounter is how to do banking and financial transactions. But I'm wondering, and this is obviously something I look forward to putting to them.
Yeah.
But I wonder if Whanake doesn't need to transact on chain financially yet, but can do all the decision making and governance, and then can approve a payment, and that even if that approval of a payment by blockchain vote all the governance will be recorded and verified on the chain and recognized, and that will give, instead of getting sign off from a board or some other entity, yes, this we can do this contract. That might be a way to start, and then when the facilities come online here, because that would still provide transparency and a record, and then maybe we would have to daylight the financial account so that people could confirm that side. But at least the decision making would be on the chain. The governance would be.
And that's the decision making's on chain, and I think that's what the Wellbeing Protocol has opted for: on chain decision making, governance, and then off chain fiscal activities.
I don't think anything's on the chain. I think they just use chain like. Right,
Oh,
we should check, but
yeah.
I don't think they're actually using like the chain or paying gas fees. I don't think it's verifiable in that sense, you know.
Yeah, true.
But we would all be on chain. Well, we could make the decision making governance. Yeah,
it's so like I feel like it could be so. This is showing my lack of understanding of US tax law, because the other question I do want to ask tomorrow is if we did it that way. And I looked up, you can have a look-through company over in the States, in a favorable state, like Delaware or something, and then that doesn't provide any, it's not a legal entity.
Oh.
So it's not an entity itself. It just, you still are taxed as an individual of whoever owns the company.
Right.
So I was thinking, what if our incorporated society owned that company? Then we would be taxed. Then the entity would be taxed. We'd still have a legal limited liability around us as operators in the DAO.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm like, and that's just so we can get a US Can we have a third party that's delivering our day-to-day procurement of pens, of just like a third party spending, and I think because that's the only other ingredient we need to then have quite a smooth onboarding and offboarding, or on-ramping and off-ramping, sorry.
Right.
So I reckon that's one of the questions I want to ask. Are we going to look like money laundering? Are we going to look like sanitarium? I think they lost their charity status, for the... I think so. Because I saw it in the news. Someone was like, "Yeah, we know. They have a 8-figure, whatever."
Yeah, bro. Well, that's definitely a loophole they exploited for a long time. But I mean, like, that's why it's awesome to catch up with the crew, Jeremy and the crew over there, and just put all these sort of legal structural questions to them, and hopefully be able to articulate to them like what we need on our end from operations and value, and they can go, this is the best match on a legal framework. And they were aware about the U.S. and some other options, and it seemed to be that their take was if you can do it in New Zealand, that seemed to be what they recommended, but we'll see when we have
I think
I'm interested.
I think they'll... Yeah, no, because I think I've read that, they got the Wyoming, they got the Delaware, they've got Vermont, and a lot of those structures still don't really provide full envelope for, and you also have to disclose a lot of detail about every bugger. It's just like
there's a lot of extra complexity, like adding in another state, foreign state to where you're operating. So if we could. Well, it was really interesting how they did it, where they had this structure of legal relationships where there's a DAO and then there's existing legal structures in New Zealand, and they, at least what Jeremy said is he believes he can set it up in a way where it's truly running by the DAO, and those legal structures just allow it. So it'll be interesting. Yeah,
it was cool. Like they've got, the DAO makes decisions, and then the trust. There's a trust that has trustees selected by the DAO, and they're entrusted with the activities set out by the DAO, and they gotta action them. And then the trust is a full shareholder of a company. And so that company's profits can go to the trust, and then the trust can divvy it out to the beneficiaries,
which is the DAO, right?
The DAO. So I feel like there's a part Like the other thing is,
Yeah.
if we had a governance token, and so the same token said, I'm a member on this incorporated society,
Yes.
which is a
Yeah.
charitable operation,
Yeah.
and I'm also a member on this collective, like a for-profit collective. Oh, is that a bad thing? Like, I don't
That's
know.
what we would like, but that might be like illegal on every governance rule.
I don't know. I don't want to be like.
But that's what we'll ask him.
Yeah, we'll do some charity work here, and if we make profit in the non-profit side, that can go towards the non-profit activity and as within scope. But then, if we want to do outside of the scope of our non-profit type of activities, we might do, I don't know, whatever random activity we see as an opportunity. Then we can do that, and then those benefits can be passed on to the beneficiaries.
Yeah, I think the thing about a charity or not-for-profit or society is that it can earn money to further its mission. There's nothing against that. It just can't pay out profit.
To its beneficiaries.
Yeah. And it can pay people for services to further their mission, right? So it's like in theory, but yeah, you're right. These are all great questions for a lawyer. Because what you said about, well, can the trustees, the corporation people, and the DAO people all have a token on the blockchain that's it has authority across all three? Or is that one of the worst money laundering?
Have we just articulated tax evasion and money laundering and international crime?
Because we don't want separation of those three layers.
We want that to be like, we want to be able to do work that's meaningful, that can create income and can create well-being and prosperity, but appropriately, if it's for-profit or non-profit cause stuff, that's all umbrellaed. We want to keep that tight, but we also don't want to stay limited to that, because we do want to expand flexibility into exploring whatever other avenues. And then the for-profit entity could probably, the trust, the incorporated society part of the DAO could be a beneficiary of that. So like, that could potentially be like, but hey, I don't know, are we breaking all the rules? Like one other question I had was, I saw this cool way about compensating people's time within DAOs and collectives, and Cooperative. I don't know if I shared with you. Cooperative is a Web3 like payments, but also way where collectives of people can value each other's time, and it works like everyone in the DAO, everyone in the collective has 100 points, and then you allocate your points to who you think has done a lot of work in your collective. And if you've done a lot of work with someone, you can give them a lot of your points, but everyone has 100 points to distribute equally. And then based on how those 100 points land across everything, people might see someone's done a lot and they might get like 600 points. There's a budget associated with it, and that might be a bonus budget, or that might be the operational budget. And so people get compensated through a smart contract straight to their wallets, based on, there might be 20 grand to give to everyone, and then it's divvied up. The example was mainly used for bonuses, because everyone would be on a fixed salary, like a fixed rate, but depending on the highs and lows, and how who everyone worked with, then the things will get divvied out. But I wonder, I was thinking, is that legal? Can we do that? Sounds cool. I don't want to be like back to the money laundering thing.
That's what the lawyers can provide to the mission, right? They can tell us all these. Is this legal question? That's perfect. That's what we need, right? Because we have a bunch of scenarios. Is this legal? Is this tax evasion? Is this money laundering? Or is this a great?
Because when we attempted to establish a society-based charitable trust for Whanake, and actually we have set up a society-based charitable trust, but some of the activities articulated in our trust deed were deemed either too unclear or maybe not charitable purposes. For example, we wanted to provide Game B perspectives or system change to inform policy, and system change and policy in form of policy making is not a charitable activities
purpose.
that would have to sit in the commercial for-profit side, even though it contributes to the same overall vision. Some stuff are within New Zealand deemed charitable and some aren't, and so how do we still do the for-profit activities that are purpose-driven, so that we can keep a charitable status and then access funding, philanthropic funding that aligns with that. So yeah, that's I think the benefit of having a dual structure.
Yes. Which is like OpenAI. Well, I mean, like they abuse that structure, but that is at least what they claim that's what their structure enables.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And we're pretty much like OpenAI for New Zealand, like.
Oh man.
Oh wait, bro. I'm sorry. Were you gonna say something?
No. I'm just that was a good analogy because OpenAI, OpenAI itself is a charitable thing, startup.
The original,
thing,
entity was.
And Microsoft is the kind of the commercial arm that is now a significant investor,
shareholder or something. Yeah.
But they're not a decision maker because now they're not shareholders; they're just major investors.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm wondering. Again, we can maybe do a follow-up podcast on how it went and how all these questions were answered. But, and it would be cool to have Jeremy as a guest on the podcast possibly at some stage. If there's further things to talk about and there's people actually listening, it's worth his time. But I was going to say, it was interesting hearing you lay out these different scenarios. And I'm wondering if, so the charity legal designation is really restrictive, especially around these new emerging Game B, network state, Web3, right? It's hard for it to classify as either charitable or profitable, and it can be very restrictive. And I wonder if there's a way that you don't even need the incorporated society. That I wonder if there's a way that the DAO, as the governance decision maker, in some way can provide that assurance and safety feature that this corporation that it governs is acting in a
charitable
way. But so that's the binding rather than the charitable status being the binding to get a tax benefit that the DAO smart contract and governance, which is all verifiable by anyone, right? So that's the thing. They don't have to take our words. Anyone can see the smart contracts and the DAO's operations. That might be a different way to look at the assurance that this thing is operating in a benefit way, in a social enterprise way, right? I don't know. Sorry, I wonder if that's another way to explore it, because then you have the freedom to do whatever commercial activities lead or support the mission that's established by the DAO smart contract and its rule set. You know what I mean? Like I'm wondering if that gives you more flexibility and still assurance. But
I think if you did have a DAO and a means to audit, because everything's transparent on chain, so you could readily audit all the activities that they do, and it'd just be an exercise in decoding transactions and their determining whether they're for charitable purpose or not, which may be tricky to do. But
what if you're not worried about? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think with the charitable status comes the charitable kind of reporting and all of those kind of things. But eventually, I think it will grow to a point where that can be an automated task that sits within the blockchain. And AI is doing that, and it determines it. Wouldn't that suck if you got your charitable status revoked from an AI that was like, you bought too many pens, and that's too far.
That's true. I mean, a lot of the people stuck within these bureaucracies and these institutions are essentially operating like low-level AIs already. So I don't know how different it would be, like
a human. We had a quarter about we had a quarter about low level AI and like the potential for AI to just replace all those kind of jobs.
Yeah. What with
Many
the?
jobs that I have been in.
Oh, bro.
um, I think those are some key questions for our discussion tomorrow.
Yeah.
But like this has been a long time coming, and I remember seeing Jeremy Muir's name in our early kind of research and
Yeah.
discovery phase. But just never thought, they wouldn't knock on our door and be like, oh, yeah, we'd be keen to have a talk. And we reached out to them, and they said they were interested.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is there's a few people like emerging in the scene, and there'll be a whole ton of people in the informal space that we're probably much less aware of, but some of the people that are like in a higher profile sense, like it was Alex Sims at
Yep.
Auckland University and Jeremy Muir and yeah, and obviously the crew at Wellbeing Protocol. You know, there's
Yep.
a few, and I signed this up, I think, but I didn't see anything from it.
The Web3 NZ.
Yeah,
Oh,
did
yeah.
that come through?
Yeah. That's
Okay,
I think
so
Callahan's been doing some mahi there, and I know
yeah,
they're doing some. They did a future of money or future of work.
yeah,
Maybe it was money, and either the Treasury was doing some stuff there, and I think maybe they've partnered um, with Callahan. I saw that Easy Crypto partnered with Callahan as well to set out a New Zealand stablecoin. They released, I think, in November last year.
really?
Yeah. So there was one before, and now I think it got hacked or something. Something they were like, "Don't if you see any of this on Polygon chain, don't get it."
Damn.
Something happened. Like,
Yeah.
kind of. Anyways, it was a big red banner, and I didn't want to go there. But
Yeah.
so yeah, like
Yeah.
stable coins and there's a few things happening. I think the infrastructure is probably moving towards making it more easier and possible to set up a Web3 company, a Web3 organization, a quasi DAO, or full on DAO. But yeah,
It's
I
cool
think
to.
yeah.
No, sorry, bro. Finish your thought.
Yeah. I think given our legal structures here, what I got from Jeremy Muir and his team were it's pretty easy to set up something here. It'll just take a few tweaks. And the majority of the DAO's activities are only reflected in the rules of your trust.
Yeah.
So,
No, I'm looking forward to it. He seemed pretty like optimistic about it, and that you didn't need to do any of these foreign country maneuvers. But yeah, it would be really enlightening to see what he says. And I guess the other thing is like, I don't know. It's not that we're trying to get involved in policy, but obviously, if we can demonstrate, I don't know, the viability of the DAO in general, and then advocate for a legal pathway that's a little bit more straightforward rather than because in principle what New Zealand's tax law and legal system wants is like they don't want different rule sets for different things. Like I know they had a big reform on tax laws where corporate, trust, personal income, like everything should be the same because then it disincentivizes you shifting around money. And I feel like by that principle, what would they rather have that you can just have a DAO that operates as a legal entity that can do business and own assets, or that we have like 3 to 7 different legal entities with legal relationships, you know, and a DAO governing it, but this complicated web. Surely the tax agency, the IRD here, and all the surely they would prefer just a simplistic. This is a DAO, and it does things like a company, but it operates differently. So, anyways, it's a long way of saying. I think if we find a way to do it legally, even if it's not perfect, then maybe we can contribute towards speeding up the process of legitimizing it here.
yeah, definitely. If we can, we may our way we do it now may be a convoluted, whole mishmash of things, but at least we can then be a part of the discussion to make it easier for others.
So yeah, I'm excited too. We'll hopefully be able to progress the legal back end of it, which is yeah, one of the legal and financial.
Because the
Right.
legal,
Yeah.
the financial, so connected to the legal, and
Yeah.
once we've got the legal, I think it's just gonna be
Yeah.
straight through financial, and then we're going to be pretty well set up. We'll have an entity, and then we can just do work, get money, spend money,
Yeah.
um,
And
save money, buy assets,
yeah,
get
that's the
funding. Yeah.
that's the next phase around like network statey type phase of like, one angle is just like there's a mission that we have that we agreed on, and we get money to do that work, and that work just furthers it by the fact of propagating that thinking out there, right? We pay to provide white papers or thought leaderships or workshop or whatever, and that's spreading this type of thinking, and people that are interested pay us for that. But then there's the like, and you just pay people, right? A living retainer to provide that
Mm,
service. And then there's a, like, but do you also try and acquire assets for Whanake Foundry that, as another way to grow
yeah.
the wealth in the
And
game B space or AB?
yeah, and then you get into, we could be products in terms of, could we create vision cubes, like tangible vision cubes,
Mm,
or assets in terms of land and creating the eco par
yeah,
type of Whanake based um, local nodes that are tangible places, physical places people can go
yeah.
and work and connect and realize these futures and have all these different type of structures set out. And yeah,
Which is like the network conference showed a bunch of examples, right? Sort of. Is that what you're thinking? I mean, in a sense, they have
yeah,
their own mission, but that's what they're doing, right? Like cabin and cul-de-sac and these other endeavors are
yeah. Or would we be just a part of the thinking that helps to seed something like that? Because
part
maybe that,
of cabin or cul-de-sac, a node.
yeah,
Yeah, that's the thing. We could be a node in their network, or we could create a complementary network. All of these are options, right?
yeah,
As long as it furthered the mission of Whanake Foundry,
mm,
we're not like we have to be the network. We could be a node in someone else's network
yeah,
if everything aligned, right?
mm,
That's cool. Well, sweet, bro. We'll share everything, and then whatever is useful is useful. Like we'll share. Look, we use the script to do this, and we use Squadcast to do this, and we're using Discord or whatever. Like we'll try and put together the actual blueprint of everything that all the tools that we're using to do our thing, so that you can take your thing and nest it inside of a similar structure if it's useful, right? And you don't have
mm.
to. What's better is it, what do I do for recording, or what do I do for video conferencing, or what do I do for, that's,
And we're
yeah,
really targeting, like there's only me and you at the moment, and so
yeah,
everything that we're trying to do is we don't want premium memberships of things or paying for every team member.
yeah,
We're trying to figure out how can we do this with the smallest capital operational budget
yeah,
to allow all these blockchain AI efficiencies to support our vision,
yeah,
and how could that be applied to anyone else who has a vision starting small and just creating heaps of nodes.
yeah. My final thought takeaway for tomorrow is that we just need a minimum lovable product, right? It doesn't have to be the endpoint. That's a good starting point.
Mm.
You know what I mean? As long as we're mindful of how it can grow.
Yep.